Hello ladies and gents, welcome to today's video. Here's 5 things that I think we would all benefit from focusing on this year, 2023. Number 1, I want you to start thinking about narcissism and your study of narcissism and overcoming narcissism as a jump-off point. So that what's happened to you at a microcosmic level could be applied to the macrocosmic level. So when we say, okay, I was targeted for narcissistic abuse and I've experienced a degree of narcissistic abuse in my life. That means that we have a paradigm in which you were targeted and victimized with a certain intent by an external force. That externalizes your locus of control. Okay, that's fine. We know all that. We've studied all that. It also means that whether you were in a passive state before this began, or this induced a passive state in you as an effect of it, that this is something that we need to overcome in order to move on with the rest of your life. And what I think it's interesting to do every once in a while is to break down what it is we're actually really all about. So for example, with this channel, with this project, if you're tuned into me and you're listening to me and you have all these different concepts, some from psychology, some seems a bit like mystical spirituality, some is philosophical, what's the point? Where am I moving you towards? The idea, I suppose, would be to say, try to develop a philosophy whereby you move beyond being told what to do by others. Because if you say narcissistic abuse is in this narrow band here, it requires that somebody with a fairly rare, clinically diagnosable personality disorder has actually targeted me. Yes, okay, that's one paradigm of it. But generally speaking, if you are being told what to do, what to think, and what to feel with no gate, with no boundary on it by others, I would also regard this as being, if not a kind of narcissistic abuse, still a form of brainwashing. It's still a form of cult conditioning. So if we were to draw a Venn diagram, we would say within the paradigm of narcissistic abuse, there is always brainwashing, there is always ideological infection, there is always cult conditioning. But brainwashing, ideological infection, and cult conditioning doesn't always include narcissistic abuse, if we were drawing a Venn diagram. What I've been implying, but not stating explicitly enough, that my intention for you moving forward is to overcome that. Is to overcome permitting other people to determine what it is that you think, what it is that you feel, and what it is that you do. So if I say to you, welcome, come through the door of my clinic, I don't have a clinic and I don't see people face to face, metaphorically speaking, and I help you to overcome narcissistic abuse, and I help you to develop a new moral philosophy so that you can go out into the world and be safe again from narcissistically abusive relationships within your family, in the workplace, or in romance. But I hand you over to the clutches of corporations, of advertisers, of marketeers, of pollsters who want to coerce your consent and direct your energy in certain directions through manipulation. What good have I done? I've done a minor good. I've not done anything that's going to make a huge difference in the world. And one of the things that I would say as I age, as I develop myself, I'm still in my own process, my own therapeutic process, my own desire to overcome issues from my past and everything else, is I kind of have an interest in things that are revolutionary. Revolutionary in the sense of creating real, long-term and lasting change, because I don't think the state of the world as it is today is fair, and I don't think that it's here, the state of the world that we as human beings have created, hasn't prioritized human beings. It is not for the benefit of human beings, it is for the benefit of, let's say, fetishized objects beyond the realm of humanity, that no human individual being can ever actually subjectively enjoy for themselves. That was a really complicated thing I just said. The acquisition of capital, the acquisition of profit for its own sake, without a clear, visible, immediate benefit to any one person, is pointless and is not serving the needs of humanity. You didn't come here for some pseudo-Marxist lecture, I know that. What I'm saying, and I'm not a Marxist, I'm not for communism, I'm not against capitalism in principle, but I think that we do have to look at the fact that many people are very, very miserable. Why are we in the middle of a mental health crisis when we've never had more stuff? When things have never been as convenient? When we've never had as much choice as we do now? Why is it that simultaneously we're living a story, we're living a narrative, that we've never been more miserable? It could be that stuff and things and choice was never the solution to the problem of living as a human being on this planet. So the first thing that I would suggest is to try and develop a philosophy that moves beyond simple narcissistic abuse at the individual level to some sort of individuation at the collective level. The second thing that I would recommend that you do is to try and find a way for yourself to get on good terms with your own emotions and your own body and your own central nervous system, your own hormonal system. So get on good terms with how you feel somatically inside your own body. Get on good terms with your own body. Get on good terms with your own feelings. Get on good terms with your own state and learn to feel good. Learn to feel positive. Take control of your somatic, your feeling, your subjective state, and have a discipline of causing yourself to feel good. Not to feel fleeting pleasure. The line of coke, the gamble, the orgasm, the cookie, that's not what I'm talking about. Where you actually feel a stable, lasting sense of goodness within your own body. Having said that, and that I'm not going to hit you over the head with the emotional literacy stick, it is key that part of that process is we find a way to accept our emotions through the door, our feelings, and to say, hey, how are you doing? And to say, hey, who are you? And to say, hey, what do you want? And to assume that when a feeling comes up, no matter how ugly, no matter how distressing, no matter how much it may affect your balance in that moment, that the intention of the feeling is to move you away from danger and towards safety. And to work with that feeling, to communicate with that feeling and be like, okay, I'm going to make a crazy supposition here. I'm feeling a lot of envy, I'm feeling a lot of rage, I'm feeling a lot of irritation, I'm feeling a lot of whatever the ugly thing is you would rather disavow, which you can't disavow and then hope for peace and sanity. You just can't. To ask that disavowed, ugly, what you're terming or what we are terming an unacceptable emotion, how do you serve me? I'm going to make the assumption that I am an intelligent system. How does this feeling serve me? What is it guarding me from? What danger is it taking me away from? And what safety is it trying to move me towards? The third thing that I would recommend that we all take time to focus on this year is to develop a moral philosophy. You don't need to go and study Kant and Wittgenstein and try and penetrate really heavy books with many, many words in them, with long sentences that collide into each other and that grow into paragraphs that are just obscenely long, where when you try and hold what was at the beginning of the sentence to the end of the sentence, your mind starts to snap. I'm not doing hard philosophy straight. I don't take it on, what do you call it with drugs? I don't take it like uncut. I don't take uncut philosophy. My mind won't tolerate it. But I can take essays about philosophy. I can take other people's podcasts about philosophy. I'm capable of doing that. And so I do. Now, do you need to go on some long-winded journey taking on other people's philosophies? No. You don't need to read any other philosopher in this lifetime, I don't think. I don't think it's essential. I think it's advisable, but I don't think it's essential. If you want the bare bones of this because you really are not interested in it, all that I would request that you do is that every day, for a certain amount of time a day, ask yourself the interesting and fascinating philosophical question, what is good and what is bad? Why is that good? Why is that bad? What is good in my life right now? Why is that good? Is there any chance it could be bad? What is bad in my life right now? Why is that bad? Is there any chance it could be good? And not to find answers, not to create a new rigid dogma to be stuck inside of, but to develop the skill and the strength of asking the question and wrestling with these ideas so that our capacity to think gets stronger and our capacity to critique our own thinking gets stronger. And so we can go, oh yeah, I have like kind of a blind spot there. Or, oh yeah, I'm really attached in a way that's unjustifiable to this idea or that idea, and maybe my life would be easier without that. So that when good comes into your life, no matter how it makes you feel, or if it's inconvenient, or it doesn't match your self-image, or whatever it is, you can recognize it as good and say, this is goofy, or this is awkward, or this is silly, or this isn't in alignment with my goals, but I know that this person is good. I know that this thing is good. I know that this project is good, and I'm going to take it as good. Good for me, good for the people around me. If it's good for you and not good for the people around you, it's probably not good. That's a philosophical question you can wrestle with by yourself. And if something else comes into your life that is bad, but it is slick, it is sexy, it is interesting, it is curiosity inducing, it's trendy, that you could say, okay, I might win social points if I associate myself with this thing that is bad, but I know that it is bad. And if something is bad, then it's going to be better for me and better for the people around me if I reject it, if I judge it as bad, condemn it as bad, and then reject it from my life as bad. It's going to be better. That to me is the essence of a good moral philosophy. Not just so that you can write extremely tedious books. There's enough being written. Please don't make another. I wouldn't thank you for that. But so that you can defend yourself, so that you can protect yourself, so that in your daily life, when you just walk down the high street, or you drive in your car, or you talk to your friend, or you interact on social media, you can say, this is good. And I know that this is good because, and you have your value system for goodness. Or you say, this is bad, and I know that this is bad because, and you have your own pre-developed value system. Number 4. This year, let this year be a year where we recognize and embrace that boundaries and hierarchies are good, and distinguish with our newly found moral philosophy and our newly found capacity to think critically that sometimes an overly exerted boundary becomes oppression, and that overly exerted hierarchies become tyranny, if not authoritarianism and fascism, but that in and of themselves they are good, and that seeking to flatten all hierarchies and seeking to dissolve all boundaries is dangerous and bad. Some bad boundaries should be dissolved. We have to distinguish. How do we know it's a bad boundary? Well, what is my philosophy for badness, goodness? That's your moral philosophy, good, bad. What is a bad hierarchy? What is it like? When is it good? Sometimes it is right to dissolve a hierarchy. Sometimes it is right to challenge a boundary. But it does not mean that the dissolution of all boundaries is a good thing. Think about it this way. If we go along a logical pathway of saying that the dissolution of all boundaries is good, what about the boundaries that protect children from the inappropriate interests of mentally ill adults? What about the boundaries that protect the vulnerable in our society from people who are either hierarchically more powerful than them or physically stronger than them from simply being abused and exploited? If we dissolve all boundaries and we say all boundaries are bad, everything is everything, everybody should go everywhere, that nobody should ever be told no because a boundary is always a no, how will we deal with crime? Will we just dissolve the police force? Will we dissolve the judicial system? I said at the beginning that I'm a revolutionary, but I'm not a boundaryless revolutionary. I believe in boundaries. I would never be a communist. I could for that reason, because the true state of communism implies no government, which means no centralized power, which means no police and no money. The only thing, if we fell into that tomorrow, that would happen is that the strong would devour the weak very, very quickly, and we would descend into total barbarism in weeks. Why do I believe that? Because I know humans and I know human nature. Humans are sometimes good. Usually they're better if they've been disciplined. Usually if they've trained themselves to move out of their basic instinct and their more evil instincts, then they're better. And sometimes they're bad. And sometimes they're bad. And if they're ill-disciplined and they've not been trained out of their evil instincts, then they're really bad. Then they're the worst. If they don't have the impulse control to stop their baser instincts, then they're demons. Effectively, they become demons on earth. So let this be the year where we start getting back to boundaries and back to hierarchies. Hierarchy, okay? Hierarchy is not synonymous with patriarchy. Hierarchy is not synonymous with authoritarianism, but it has been and it could be. Hierarchy is also meritocracy. when you have a child who has a brain tumor and you would like that child to be operated on, I presume that you would want the best human being for the job available within the relevant time frame. I know I would. That's hierarchy. That's a boundary. If you don't have boundaries, there's no language. And this is where we're moving to right now, where everybody is trying to develop their own individualized, narcissistic, solipsistic lexicon. When I say global flopple, this is what it means, and I need everybody around me to learn my dictionary and to consent to what I'm saying, to what I mean when I say this made up word. Okay, there's 8 million of us here in this Garden of Eden right now. If 8 million of us try to enforce that, nobody will be able to understand anybody. You will not be able to go to the dentist to get your rotten tooth fixed. If a bad person breaks into your house to kill your family, you won't be able to call anybody and have anybody come and deal with it. If you're in pain or you're suffering and you need help, nobody's going to be able to help you. We won't be able to assist each other because none of us will understand what anybody else means, because we all have individualized, narcissistic, solipsistic lexicons. We are a collective. We are a tribe. Let this also be the year where we point out racism of any stripe from any side of the aisle, whether it be, reverse, there's no such thing as reverse racism, by the way, that's a nonsense idea. Any form of judgment and permission granted or taken away from a person because of their sex or because of their sexual preferences or because of the color of their skin, at any time, by anybody. There is no hierarchy of oppression. Nobody's winning the oppression Olympics. That's not how this is going to work. We call it out and we say that it is wrong. All efforts towards recreating scenarios of segregation, these also must be challenged and pushed back against. We don't want neo-segregation via the back door under another title of whatever the title is. It's not good. We're human beings. There is no doubt, scientifically, that race is a fallacious concept. There are no two biologists who are going to tell you these are exactly what the number of different races are on the planet, and through DNA testing we can distinguish exactly what the discrete boundaries are between them. Race is a concept that applies to plants in biology. That's the only area it applies, is to plants. We are not plants, we are animals. We are far more alike than we are different. Let us move forward in unity. The fifth thing that I think we should all be looking at doing this year is to try to avoid the indoctrinated and entrained tendency to seek collective solutions. Collective solutions are good. We must learn to work together as collectives again, but a collective that is a collective of strong, independent, sovereign, boundaried individuals who have their lives in order and know what they want is better than a collective of emotionally dysregulated, unboundaried, frightened, incapable, cranky, perceptually distorted, and quite frankly, somewhere on the scale for mental illness, people who are trying to resolve their own childhood trauma through group activities, through collective endeavor, through political movements. We need to push back against that. It's really not good. If it was going to lead us somewhere good, it would have done already. It clearly isn't leading us anywhere good, and every year that goes by, the situation is deteriorating. Those of you who resonate with my message and see no threat here, you're probably like me. You've probably been waiting for the pendulum to swing. You've probably been thinking that eventually the adults will return to their posts and everything will be brought back to normal. I don't think it's sensible or responsible to keep waiting for that to happen. It behooves all of us to take individual action primarily and some collective action as a distant secondarily, in order to move the situation now in the directions we would like them to go. Non-violently, respectfully, we must all learn to start saying no. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed that video, please give this video a like, share it on your social media, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Hello folks, just to let you know, we now have a new course out. It's finally finished. It's called Unplug from the Matrix of Narcissistic Abuse, and it's available from richardgrannon.com. Just hit this link right here and you can go get it.